Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm here today with somebody you're really going to enjoy and are probably pretty familiar with. His name is Chautauqua, and he runs the website called Augury Express, and that is spelled Augurie, Augury.com. Chautauqua, you're here?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Hi, and thank you very much for having me on.
You're welcome. And I have enjoyed your writing for years. You're such a skilled writer. What I wanted to just ask you first, one little question before we get on to our subject. You
Okay.
write these incredible stories, and I'm reading it and I'm thinking it sounds like something you actually did, but then I'm thinking it's fiction. What is it? Are you making that stuff up, or did you really live in Alaska, and did you really experience all those things?
Every word is true, darling.
It
I did live in Alaska, and all of my personal experiences that I've written about on my blog are absolutely true.
Oh man, those are amazing, and I love those stories. I think I might be one of your biggest fans because they're exciting, and I get into it, and I'm thinking this can't be real. He didn't really go through this, and sure enough, it is.
I
Wow.
I have actually heard the same sentiment from quite a few readers over the last couple of years, and that's great feedback for me to know. How would I know it if I didn't get that feedback? So
Yeah,
thank you very much for that.
you're welcome. I hope everybody tunes in and enjoys what you write because you're an excellent writer. And
Well, I've
now,
been blessed with a very entertaining and unusual life.
you sure have.
Let's put it that
You
way.
sure have. Entertains me. Uh, now let's see. I want to. The reason I contacted Chautauqua is because he also writes on the dimensions, on 5D, on 3D, 4D, 5D. And these are things that I can't say that I comprehend or understand at all. You know, I'm thinking maybe 5D is being conscious of our multidimensional existence, but that's just guessing because I really don't know what these terms describe. And so I thought we would talk about that as a theme for the conversation today. Would that be all right?
Oh, that is excellent. It's going to be a very popular thing, I think, because I think a great many people, especially the more recently awoken,
Uh huh.
and are going to have the same kind of questions and confusions about the transition that Earth and its passengers are taking from third dimension third dimensional density resonance
Uh
through
huh.
the D and into 5D. And the reason for so much widespread confusion, I believe, is lack of an owner's manual.
Okay. Well, we don't have that.
We all end up, excuse me, going through this uh, earthly sojourn wondering such questions as who am I, why am I here, what's it all about, and where is the ice cream? Uh, we don't have the owner's manual that lists it all out for us. And on top of that, this whole idea of the shift of the ages and the transition through the dimensional frequencies, it suffers from a uniform terminology.
You bet it does. You know, one
Uh,
of the things I wonder about too, we have so many new terms, so many,
exactly.
and everybody understands them differently. We have no definitions. We're just kind of forming definitions, I guess, and that's why we talk about this, so that we can grab an understanding. Part of me says, well, uh, a lot of us are in 5D already. But then, if it is what I think it is, but then I don't know. See?
I think a lot of us these days are getting the tips of our toes into 5D occasionally, and we go, "Wow, what was that?" You know.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and it's not an easy concept all inclusively to understand. To give you a frame of reference on that, one of my favorite astrophysicists is famous for saying that if you think you understand quantum physics, you haven't been paying attention.
Uh-huh.
It's a very convoluted, sometimes non-logical view of the cosmos, and I don't even think that quantum physics has all the answers, but I think they're getting in the right direction. The uh, the foundation of what we're talking about today, Ida, lies in three areas: the area of consciousness,
Uh-huh.
the area of intention, and the area of the human energy system, which is the aura and the 12 chakra system.
Okay.
Now, what we're have been and continue to experience, this whirlwind of worldly events, is actually the confluence of three distinct yet similar cycles in time. We touched upon this when we chatted recently. You have the age of Aquarius, which is an astrological cycle, and what that is the 2,000-year age of Pisces. It has ended and is ending, and Earth and all of us are moving into the age of Aquarius, and the energies are like polar opposites. Uh, in astrology, you have this thing called a cusp, which is
Uh-huh.
the demarcation line between any two of the 12 signs. And now in astrology, it only takes just a few seconds for the clock hand to sweep past that cusp and move into the next energy. But when you're dealing with these cosmic cycles of time, which are extremely long in duration, that cusp, as we're finding out, can last up to 30 years.
Okay.
Now, as far as 3, 4, and 5D goes, uh, let me not get ahead of myself. I spoke about a confluence of
Yeah, I
three
wanted you to stick with
energies.
that because
I want to
yeah.
stay with that for
Uh-huh.
just a moment. So you have this age of Aquarius happening. Overlapping that is this whole thing with the Mayan calendar, the 2012 scenario.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and then overlapping both of those cycles of time is you have the Kali Yuga
Okay.
from the Indian cosmology. And what all three of these cycles of time deal with expressly is the ending of one era and the beginning of a new era. Not the end of life, not the destruction of Earth, not any of this stuff that we hear about that sells a lot of fear. It's just the ending of one cycle and the beginning of a new one. But with all three of these cycles of time overlapping and compressing upon us and around us, it's a bit like the perfect storm. And that's part of the way you know you're in 4D is because everything now is way more chaotic than it ever has been.
Uh-huh.
Third dimensional reality, third dimensional density, that was around for about as long as humans have been here on the planet. And it represents our spiritual childhood, if you will. The time when we're supposed to be learning what it means to be human. Uh, we're in the cusp now between third and fifth dimension. And while the third dimensional reality lasted for eons, thousands and thousands of years, so will fifth dimension. The transitionary period, this fourth dimensional transition that we're in, only about 30 years, I reckon. And that's my speculation. That's my best guess. It's not
Okay.
carved in stone. I think that we were catapulted into 4D reality with the 9/11 event.
Hmm.
Because that was the domino that kicked over every other domino near it, giving us a chain reaction that's led us to the political scenarios that we see on the planet today.
Yeah.
And every one of those has taken us deeper into 4D. It's like a chain reaction of firecrackers going off. And it's disruptive because the world that will be cannot exist on the foundations of the world that was. We have to change everything out.
That's for sure.
We wouldn't want to build the new world that so many of us see in our mind's eye. We wouldn't want to build that on the decayed, rotted corpse of third-dimensional reality. All that has to go away, and it doesn't want to, which is maybe it helps to explain why there's so much chaos, turmoil, and negativity prevailing right now across the face of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
It will fool you into thinking that that's the way it's always going to be, because they want you to think that. They want us to give up. They want us to just breathe in those chemtrails, eat that GMO food, and turn on that TV.
Yeah.
That's what they want us to do. So, the third dimensional density being essentially our spiritual childhood, we can extrapolate the fifth dimension and might very well represent our spiritual adulthood.
Okay.
And that we are now transiting this tumultuous period of fourth dimensional density resonance, that's like our adolescence. We've supposedly learned what it means to be a human and how to do that. Now we're supposed to be learning how to be responsible spiritual entities. And that doesn't happen in a vacuum. We have to be tested. We have to test ourselves. We have to. I like to think of it like I saw this poster once of the Buddha, only he wasn't in a typical Buddha type setting. Buddha was in the middle of a very busy downtown someplace intersection with traffic and everything buzzing all around him, and there he sat just perfectly peaceful in meditation. That's kind of what we have to do. We have to shut out all the monkey chatter, all the BS, all the stuff that's there to put us and keep us into fear. Fear is an acronym. False events appearing real. That's all it is.
I tell you, what you're saying now really, really sounds exactly with what I feel, Chautauqua. And just keep talking because I'm digging it.
Okay. Well, staying with the 4D resonance for a while, because that's where I have us at the current moment. And like I said, it may go another 10 years or so. I don't know. I hope not. I'd like to see some really good stuff start to materialize and manifest, but we are responsible for that. And I'll get to that in a minute. That all deals with the actual process of creating and manifesting, how I perceive that happens.
Uh-huh.
But finishing out a little overview on 4D, just like adolescence, we're going through these growing pains and all this turmoil, both politically and in our private lives. I have experienced the same thing a lot of other people talk about, and that is when you're awake and aware, you try to share that with your friends and get them to see the same things that you're seeing happening in the world. And that is disrupting a lot of families. It's disrupting a lot of friendships. It's ending a lot of friendships because people who are still asleep and unaware, who wants to wake up like that? Who wants to be shook out of your sleep with somebody saying, hey, look at all this stuff that's happening? People are resistant to that.
Yeah, they are.
They really are. No matter how well you deliver the news, it's just, it's a hard way to wake up. So, this turmoil is pervasive. It's at every level of expression, from the world stage politics down to our individual lives and the changes that are happening in our personal lives. That's why I think it's very important for everyone that is spiritually awake and aware to have or create for themselves some type of personal spiritual practice. It can be anything virtually. anything that breathes the breath of life into your spirit, anything that elevates your spirit or your energy and strengthens your connection to the divine, your connection to source. Uh, some people chant or sing, other people do meditations, other people bicycle out in the wilderness. Any of these things, it's, for people who are trying to market a particular technique and sell it over the internet, they will tell you that this is the only way you can do it. I disagree with that respectfully. I think that a personal spiritual practice can be anything that cuts away all that monkey chatter and helps get you in direct hookup with the divine.
Connect you with your divinity. That's really many avenues to that.
Exactly. We're all like snowflakes and fingerprints, and what works for some or one is not going to necessarily work for all of us or the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that I think this is important is because we're all interconnected with the collective consciousness.
Yes.
So when one person brings peace and tranquility to their local energy system, to their aura and chakras, by the grace of morphogenetic fields, like Rupert Sheldrake writes about, we export that to the grid. And I think we have that responsibility. We take in so much from the grid. Why should we not be responsible to pay back some energy dividends to the grid by auspices of the energies we create while in meditation?
Exactly. I didn't realize how similar our thinking is. I totally agree with you. You're making me smile here. Keep going.
All right. One of the reasons that this is important for all of us to embrace what is called a unity consciousness is because this era of fourth dimensional density resonance that we're in, this spiritual adolescence, there is no guarantee we'll make it, because not all galactic civilizations have made it. The reference thing to Google here would be something called the Drake equation. Basically, simply put, it's a breakdown. It's an algorithmic equation that an astronomer came up with to figure out roughly how many sentient, space-traveling, capable civilizations are out there in just our galaxy. It only deals with the Milky Way galaxy. And one of the considerations in the process of the Drake equation is you have to factor in, of the total number of intelligent spacefaring civilizations, how many of those destroyed themselves before they figured it out? There's no guarantee we'll make it. A lot of them don't. It's that important.
It is amazing what you just said. It is. It sets a sense of urgency to our own spiritual work that we do, that we can at least affect the field, and the work that we do on ourselves and loving our own divinity.
Oh, you put that really nice. I like the way you have with words. Maybe that's why I read your blog a lot, too.
Cool.
We should point to yours as well. I think you dispense an awful lot of wisdom out there. And probably not the only one that thinks of you as a surrogate mom.
Cool. I like it.
I think so. So we're in this transitionary fourth dimension density resonance vibration now. And it's like walking through mud.
It is.
progress is hard to come by. One of the reasons is a lot of the things we used to anchor to in our belief systems, gone, go away, they're gone. They went bye-bye.
Yep.
They don't work anymore because 3D is no longer the paradigm on Earth. We're in 4D. And one of the ways that I have always envisioned or tried to understand this density, this dimensional differential, is to think of it in terms of frequency and harmonics, like a musical scale. Third dimension is down there on the low end of the notes.
Uh-huh.
You go towards the other end of the scale, the notes get higher, lighter, more vibrant, easier to be around and listen to. That's because the lower vibrations resonate to the lower chakra centers.
Uh-huh.
The higher you go up the vibrational scale, thus each ascending octave of vibrations resonates to a correspondingly higher chakra center. We're supposed to be operating through our heart center by now.
Mm-hmm.
But most of us are still locked in the lower two chakras, which is security and comfort and sensuality. We need to break out of that and let our energy evolve to where we're expressing through our heart center. That's what it's all about, I think, for humanity in the here and now, is working through the heart center, to become heart-centered people, because you cannot begin experiencing fifth dimensional reality until you become or are on the way to becoming a heart-centered individual. Does that make sense?
Oh, does it ever? And it has for, well, I think I'm going to mention another one of our friends. The first time I really started to think about heart-centered was in reading some of the work of our friend Soren Dreyer. He named the heart people, and I was thinking, heart people, who are they? They're us. Focusing on heart-centered energy.
Now, what we see here again, we mentioned earlier the lack of universal nomenclature or terms to understand these energies with. A lot of people on the internet are throwing around this word ascension.
Yeah.
And it means various things to various people. The concept has even made its way into a lot of movies, albeit with some far-fetched notions of what it's all about. That can eventually be misleading, I think, at best. You can think of it as an ascension. It's like ascending a musical scale. Sometimes when I'm talking about this subject and there's other people in the room physically with me, I make the point of saying that there could well be a couple of fifth dimensional entities hanging out in this room right now, and we wouldn't probably see them. And yet some people are beginning to. People are starting to tell me personal experiences that they're having and they're concerned about it because it's very vivid. In their peripheral vision, you'll see movement, and they'll look, and something's there, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's these brief, peekaboo moments where the energies are so compatible, there's a bleed through, and you'll actually see or hear or experience a fragment of that other reality. That's because you're closer to it.
Stuart Wilde talked about that a lot, to what we see out of our peripheral vision. I used to practice trying to see out of my peripheral vision back in 10, 12, 15 years ago. And if I could fine-tune that vision.
There's a trick here, and I think if my memory is not what it used to be, but if my memory is correct, I think this is a trick I learned from reading Stuart Wilde's material years and years ago. And it's the idea of programming your brain to give you all the information that it gets. Because our brains, the way they mostly work is they give us what the brain gives us what it thinks we want to know. It filters and categorizes a lot of information in the background, such as like you're driving down the road. What gets put in the background is the messages on all the billboards, the stuff that you don't need to have to drive your car.
Right.
But if you program your brain to give you conscious access to all the information, you will start noticing that even though you didn't look and read it, you know what it said on the billboard as you go. And this is important because that way every little thing your peripheral vision notices will be brought to your conscious attention with clarity. And you'll get a better image of it.
You did talk about perception quite a bit. We'll probably quit this conversation in about 5 minutes, but I want to ask you something that I had maybe here's a place where you're thinking something different than what I'm thinking, because when I had thought about, let's say, a 5-dimensional consciousness, we're here in our bodies, we're aware of certain other dimensions. You know, we may have had a peek at them. We may have seen some things in visionary state, or we may have seen some things in peripheral vision. We may be partially or just a little tiny bit aware of our trans-dimensional existence. Does that mean, let's say, when you said you were in a room with somebody and there might be somebody in 5D here that we can't see? Because I thought it would just be us in our human bodies here on the earth in a different state of consciousness, a higher resonance of consciousness.
I suspect that might be the case. I think partially because of something I read in the Celestine Prophecies.
Uh-huh.
That's one of a couple of books I wanted to mention while we're talking.
Yeah, I like that book too.
They kind of deal with that. In the Celestine Prophecies, the whole idea of the journey that they were on was to gain the insights necessary to become a fifth-dimensional human being. And not to, spoiler alert, but at the moment of his high crisis, when he was being chased through the jungle by the federales, he used the insights he had learned, and they didn't find him because they walked right by him.
Uh-huh. Okay.
They could not see him.
Right.
He was still right there physically on that jungle trail, ready to be captured, but they went right by him. They could not see him because instead of panicking, he applied what he had learned to his situation, and he did not ascend, but his energy sure the hell did.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I mean when
Yeah.
I say there could be a fifth-dimensional person, and I guess if I was applying everything that I have learned, I might disappear to somebody while I was saying that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I could dig what you're saying. I think it's quite possible we're both thinking the same thing. It just depends, It depends on whether I've heard people say that they were able to walk down a street and because of where their consciousness was at, they really weren't noticed or weren't seen. And
I know people that can do that in a mall.
Oh, right. Wow.
They can walk the entire length of a mall and not only not be seen, but not be seen to the degree that people bump into them.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard that too. I haven't done it, that's for sure, but I've heard it.
I've not tried it myself either, but I think it's possible. I absolutely think that it's possible.
Wow, what a nice conversation. And okay, so we're talking about levels of consciousness, and we're talking about heart-centered, which
Exactly.
means that what I would say, what I practice anyway, what I try to bring as a reality in my life is to love first myself, my own divinity, and in so doing to love all the others that I'm encountering who I run across in daily life. And would you say that that's a fair definition of heart-centered?
That is a great definition of heart-centered, Ida. We have to not only learn to do that, but we have to push it to the other level. We have to learn to feel, express, and project that same quality of love to the people who have most hurt and offended us.
Oh boy, yep.
Tough thing to do sometimes.
Tough thing to do, but
But
I love
that's
that
what
you
it's
said
all
that.
about. I want to, before we, break this off, I wanted to jump back to the idea of how powerful our intention is.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody was to ask me on the street or anywhere else, hey, from where we are now, how do we get to 5D? Where's the path? Here's the path. The steps to getting there are the qualities of being there.
So you're talking alignment.
Alignment. If you align yourself and your personal energy system, your auras and chakras, if you align your consciousness to the qualities of 5D, such as honesty, tolerance, being heart-centered, unity consciousness, a balanced ego, peaceful approach to everything, this expanded awareness. When you bring these attributes front and center and actually live them as well as know them.
Wow.
We're just collecting information here. This is the owner's manual, I think. Everything we are learning is supposed to be applied to how we're living, I think.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So if we aspire to raise our personal energy closer and closer to that of 5D, we have to start embracing the qualities of being there. Those are the steps to getting there.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get there from here without that kind of preparation.
Yeah.
If your thoughts and your energy and the things that you do on the planet are all reflecting back this 4D energy around us, that's called stagnation.
Yeah.
We have to, like the Buddha thing, we have to cancel out, block out the monkey chatter, align ourselves with our higher self, and keeping ourselves grounded all the while.
Yeah.
And focus our attention on that connection to divinity. That's going to lead us to 5D.
Woo. Chautauqua, I was looking forward to this conversation, and still not even knowing how enjoyable it would be. Wow, this has been fun. I want to do it again. We can find any number of subjects to talk about.
Absolutely. Or we could make it a two-parter, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Anything is possible. I'll leave you with that thing I said the other day that you like so much, because I think that bears repeating. Science is questions that might never be answered. Religion is answers that must never be questioned. Thank you very much, Ida, for having me. And, I'm stoked to do another one.
Okay. Very good.
This has been a lot of fun.
It has been. I love this. I love listening to recordings, so I hope the people enjoy it. And on that note, thank you, everybody, for listening. Bye-bye, Chautauqua. We'll talk again soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.